Hi everyone, welcome to our Facebook Live today. My name's Alyssa and I'm the Marketing Manager here at Katoomba. And today I'm so pleased to be chatting with Paul Frasca, who is the Co-Founder of Sustainable Salons. Hey Paul.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Just surviving the whole Corona thing at the moment. That's, I guess, what we're all doing.
It's an interesting world that we live in now. I kind of constantly have to pinch myself and go, okay, that's life now. You know, things have changed a bit, but yeah, we're all fearing okay-ish. I think it's tough times for some cities out there though.
All who you speak to these days, right? Because I nearly start with people, what's your theory, right? Everyone's got their theory on what they think it is and how they should solve it. And I'm just like, you know what? It's just, it's now just, it's like a sphere of just information, which you don't know what's true, what's not. I said, everyone, it's probably less information is good at the moment, and stay a little bit ignorant, and it can actually help with your, just focusing what you do need to do in a day rather than worrying all day.
I think that is awesome advice. Definitely, it can get a little bit much sometimes and it can get you down. So I think sometimes it's better to kind of focus on the couple of positives in your day and a couple of things that you want to achieve and try to get on with it, even though it can be really hard for some people. But no, very good advice.
People to get, I'm noticing now online as well, all these really cool mask companies are starting to, people are designing them now and they're starting to, I think in about 6 months from today, we're going to have some kick-ass masks, that everyone's going to be like, oh, that's my mask. Sign me up.
Yeah, they're becoming a definite fashion statement. Like I've seen some kind of blogs with celebrity masks and they've got to match the outfit and everything. So it's going to be an interesting to see what trend it kind of creates, I suppose.
Yeah. Look, it'd be great for us as salons. We would like to see a hell of a lot less of these things coming through our bins because PPE is, oh my God, at the moment. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. It's really cool to see lots of people like making their own as well. So grabbing kind of any fabric they've got at home and trying to, do that rather than buying lots of reusable ones. But it is really hard, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, other than coronavirus, I'm super excited to have you here today because I just want to have a really, really good chat about sustainable salons and also kind of some advice from you around if someone is wanting to start their journey to sustainability, kind of how they can go about that in the easiest and best way. And so I know that I've got a ton of questions for you that I want to talk to you about. As always, guys, if you have any questions, please pop them in the comments below and I'm going to ask Paul as we go along. So Paul, I thought we'd start by getting you to tell us a little bit about yourself and also about your journey to creating sustainable salons.
Yeah, okay. A little bit about hairdresser. I started my hairdressing career really young. I was quite dyslexic in school. So basically I couldn't pass any tests and my mum was like, you're going to go do something and kind of pushed me into hairdressing. And I didn't like it at first, I remember, but I was really good at shaving my friends' heads and doing all these swear words under their undercuts and all this. I was a little skater kid growing up. And basically it kept me going through my last years of school. I left school very early in year 10 at 14 and basically went to do my apprenticeship. And from there, I actually started to love hairdressing because I was now getting into the craft and so forth. So look, to fast forward from there, I ended up doing hairdressing only till about 10 years ago. So I had quite a long career in hairdressing and it took me all around the world. And to kind of, I guess, fast forward to the sustainability part is I always tell people I didn't come from there. It's not like people think, oh, when you were growing up, you must have been like this green warrior and all this. And I said, no, not really. I grew up on a farm environment with my grandparents where they had a rose farm. And yes, we were very green and we lived off the farm. But if anyone asked, my grandfather was the most liberal guy you've ever met. He would have been like, those greener people, they're crazy. I'm like, not green, look at you, you live off the farm. But that did sit with me quite a lot as I grew up. And funny enough, about 14 years ago, when I met my partner, Evelina, in Amsterdam, because I was living there for many years, I got involved in what she was doing, and she was studying fashion sustainability and actually a lot to do with our clothes, right? Where they come from and so forth. And she opened my world to basically the supply chain of your garment. And I remember thinking, oh, that is so interesting that you can track from the barcode all the way through to basically where the water came from, who planted the seed, who sewed it together. And when you find out you've got, 14-year-old planting the seed, a 15-year-old sewing it together, and water's been stolen from another village through all these things started to be like, oh my God, do I really want to buy that $10 t-shirt? And I started to think when I went to the salon, I was looking in the salon going, well, where does all this come from? Where does hair go, and where does foil go? And is anybody looking at this? There's so much, because I remember I was cutting foil probably an hour every day in the salon, because, back in the day where it was always cable foil, you had to keep cutting it. And I was like, God, there's a lot of foil here. We go through so much. Yeah. So it really kickstarted me to think about sustainability from that point forward. And then really my partner and I, when Evelina's from Belgium, and she says, I want to go see Australia and all this, and it's a very dangerous thing to do. I tell everybody, when you bring your partner from Europe, they come to Australia, it means they never want to go back. So, I'm sure you get this in New Zealand as well, right? They fall in love with the country so much. And we ended up spending some time actually in the early parts of when we came to Australia, because I wasn't working. We went on this long drive around Australia in a hippie van, because that's what you do with your foreign partners. You got to go off and see Australia. I've never seen it before, to be honest. Like probably most people in Australia and New Zealand, you never see your own country. And it gave us time to stop and think about, well, how do we approach the hairdressing industry on sustainability? So we had to study the waste problem first. So we actually went out and studied 160 hair salons' waste bins. And then we actually studied what's happening in that waste. Now, the salons were so funny. They're like, why do you want our waste? And I'm like, look, please, I'll explain this all in a couple of years when we develop it. But at the moment, I need to understand what's the problem. And look, just to give you some of the highlights, the biggest ones were actually aluminium foil. 1 million kilos of foil goes to landfill yearly in Australia. Wow. 4,000 kilos in New Zealand. So New Zealand hair salons combined throw 400,000 kilos of foil. That's massive. That makes up nearly 50% of the salon's waste bin. So when you stop with aluminium and it's infinitely recyclable, you're like, why do we throw it away? So this is really where it all kick-started. And Sustainable Salons was born really to solve the problem, not to get into recycling and all the things that we do today. It's more about how do we solve the problem and how do we introduce sustainability into people's businesses as if it's a no-brainer. It should just be, just plug it in, just like you have energy and a utility bill. Sustainability should be there the same way. And sustainability is not just about the environment, it's about people, planet, and profit. So I always remind people the environment plays just 1/3 of the role in sustainability, but it's very important about the people, the communities within our environment. So I always say to people, what are you doing in your local community? Are you helping? Are you benefiting your local community? That's jobs, that's people in need, and so forth. So these are really key aspects to sustainability. And of course, the last one, profiting, is I really care a lot about that as a business owner when I was younger, is you've got to run a successful business. There's no point trying to help others if you can't help yourself. And that is key to the success of sustainability.
Amazing. That is so cool. That is actually such a cool story. I love that. And can you also just, explain a little bit more about exactly what Sustainable Salons does? Like you just touched on it, but what is it exactly that you guys do?
In a nutshell, it's basically we are a comprehensive resource recovery service. We're designed specifically for the salon environment. We reward our clients for being part of the program. And then everything that we collect from the salon, all the waste materials, then gets redirected back into local communities and charitable programs. So what does all that mean? We're a comprehensive resource recovery service. We have up to 5 to 8 bins that can come inside your salon to separate the chemicals, the hair, the paper, the plastic. So all the separations happen in the salon. We collect that on a fortnightly basis from your salon door, so you don't have to go anywhere. Our drivers come, we collect it all. We bring it back to our depots. Our depots are actually plugged into a whole network of making sure we're bringing the jobs back to the areas where we are, so we don't centralize it. So what we do in Christchurch stays in Christchurch. What we do in Auckland stays in Auckland. It's important to do that because, like I said, about the people part of sustainability. And we put a very strong focus on employing people with disability within this space to make sure we're providing work and constant work for those in need, that it's not just a one-off, just a job, where it's actually constant work and rewarding work with purpose.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we provide this specifically for the salon environment. People ask us all the time, oh, come to the dental industry and come to tattoo. I say, no, we are specifically designed for salon environments. So that includes hair, barbershops, standard hair salons, beauty salons, dermal clinics, and we even threw in dog groomers. We couldn't resist, They're so cute, and honestly, I can tell a whole funny story about that. But it's just so cute to have dogs on the program, because what is the difference between a hair salon and a dog groomer? Nothing. I'm telling you, actually the hair's much softer. So basically, we also have this really cool rewards program. So as people join our program, they actually get rewarded, and it rewards them back with all these sustainably minded products to levitate their business to become even more sustainable. So what does that mean? Is we have everything in there from cleaning products, toilet papers, you name it, all those things that when you go to the supermarket, you want to buy it, but it's a little bit too expensive. And in our rewards store, it just makes it accessible. So we reward them with all these great items. And then the last part, which is what I call the kind of the great story to all of us, it's what we do with all the materials and what problems are we solving. So to just give you a couple, because we do a lot, for example, each of the bins, they actually provide a purpose. So the metals bin and paper bin, that's our commodity waste that we can sell. All the proceeds that we get from selling those materials is redirected back out to Kiwi Harvest and Oz Harvest. So we keep all the funds from Kiwi in New Zealand and all the funds in Australia in Australia. And again, key to sustainability. And we've now provided nearly 140,000 meals to people in need across Australia and New Zealand by just selling off the foil and paper. Like it just
amazing.
Sense, right? Like, what were we doing before? Throwing this all away with no purpose. We have to change that. Another big one is our ponytail program. We've re-envisioned what it means now to supply hair to wig makers for medical wigs, because prior to us, hair was extremely expensive for people who needed a wig made. So we've now kind of flipped that on its head now, where we've taught hairdressers how to cut a ponytail correctly, how to send it through, and now in just 5 years, we've become the world's largest donor of hair to the medical wig market. So we've collected over 100,000 ponytails through our program now. It's just, and to be honest, as a hairdresser, I never sent one in my whole career, right? And every time I have hairdressers, they're all the same. They're like, I never sent one in, and I'm like, no one ever taught me that was needed. And now that we've educated people, they're like, oh my God, I see like 2 ponytails a week in my salon, and they're just spotting it. Like your hair, you'll be like, I want to have a bob. Well, a hairdresser in a sustainable salon will be like, well, excuse me, we're going to get at least 3 ponytails from your hair before the haircut. So little things make a big difference. So all the waste materials have a purpose. And I guess I'll highlight another one, if you like. Chemicals is a big one for our beauty salons as well, is that we have specially designed chemical buckets that can actually collect the chemicals, and then we actually centrifuge those chemicals back into water. So basically your chemicals are already, doesn't matter if it's a shampoo or a skincare product, they're probably around about 95% water. And it's all about extracting that water rather than just having them go down the drain and out into the ocean. It's about getting those chemicals back from the salons and making sure we recycle it correctly. So I could go on if you like, but I've got lots of waste material and lots of stories. But again, I'm sure you get the point of like what we're trying to do here is it's not just about recycling. It's about what are you doing with those materials? How's it benefiting the community? And how much further can we take this within an environment that it's not just about recycling anymore, it's about solving social issues too.
Yeah, no, that's what you guys do is just absolutely amazing. And I love that you guys are industry specific as well. That's something that's really, really important to us too at Katoomba, because, it just means you kind of know exactly what your customers' needs are and exactly the issues that you need to solve and stuff like that. So it kind of allows you to be a lot more focused and dedicated, which is really, really cool. And I know that kind of right as COVID hit, you guys were about to launch Sustainable Salons in Wellington and Christchurch. And so we were so upset because we were so excited for that, and we were partnering with you guys on the Wellington event. But can you just tell us where you're now available? Because I know that that's kind of always expanding, which is super exciting.
Yeah, well, Australia, we have we've now covered all major cities of Australia, and at the same time as we were finishing up the last city in Australia, we were focusing on Auckland. So about a year and a half ago, you could say we got our Auckland site off the ground, meaning that we could service as low as Taronga and Hamilton, and that was of course our reach, because it's as far as our vans can reach from the depots. So we still have a little bit more to do there in Palmerston North and so forth, but the next major parts for us was Wellington and Christchurch, of course, and we had to figure out how to solve this problem now and how to get down there. So it took us a little while, because what we do is a physical service. It's not just a product that we can send around the world. So we had to get everything set up. We then about a year ago started putting in all the steps, and it was literally, and this is how funny it was, guys, we were literally at the airport ready to fly over to for the launch, and we can't thank Katuba enough, because you were partnering with us, helping us with our launch party there in Wellington.
Yeah.
And obviously we had to pause that just because, the world was in pause. So we all came back from the airport and we're all like, oh my God, okay, we've got to get back there. As we could see, COVID was not ending. There's no vaccine. So we thought, okay, we had all our salons ready to go. So we just said to everyone, look, if you're okay, we'll definitely come back to do an official party. We can have our COVID party, let's say. Hopefully when this is all done. But we launched Wellington and Christchurch at the same time, because we were ready. The depot was ready. The infrastructure was ready. So all the salons have been amazing. We have so many salons now in Wellington and Christchurch joining the program, and it is key to the success. I have said to all the salons, it's so important that we do get a set number of people down in these cities to join. Otherwise, we can't, of course, sustain ourselves down there. So we can say we are officially in Wellington and Christchurch today.
Yay! So exciting. Yeah, that was such a shame, but it's so cool to see that you guys have kind of like forged ahead and made it happen, because, we just can't let COVID stop everything. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I was also, you've touched on it so much, but for those that, kind of haven't started their sustainability journey, why is it so important that our industry really considers sustainability and including it in their business practices?
Yeah, and so to best start here is why does sustainability even matter? And people say, it's always about, I've heard the whole organic thing and the natural thing and all this, and I say, look, I always try to separate sustainability away from all of this, because I try to say sustainability is much bigger, and you've got to look at this as the sustainability of our countries, as individuals, our communities, and our prospering moving forward. This is much bigger than just singling out the environment. And like I said before, it's about the people and the profit as well. So really, for so many people today, and especially if, let's say our generation and so forth, we were not taught sustainability or the importance of it, where today they are, because things have changed dramatically. If you go back 100 years, resources were in abundance. And when I say resources, things like the Amazons and where do we get all these materials like oil that, power our cars, is we've hit peak on a lot of these materials. We can't produce more Amazons. We can't keep producing more of these resources at the speed in which we're using them. So the real question has to come is if you've got a child today trying to grow up in this world, is what world do you want them to grow up in? And that truly answers the meaning of sustainability, because sustainability is truly about just making sure the next generation has what we had when we were that age, making sure that resources are in abundance. So ultimately, as I say to someone, is if you choose today not to want to join on the sustainability bandwagon, you're also missing out on the economic benefits of what's coming with it too. And what do I mean by that? It's called the conscious consumer. right now, the conscious consumer is basically a consumer who tends to walk into a business. It doesn't matter if it's a supermarket. Let's say they're going to buy their nuts. They tend to turn the packet around. They're actually reading, where does it come from? Was it made in New Zealand? People don't want to know that their orange came from Alaska, or my lemons are from Mexico. This doesn't resonate with the conscious consumer anymore. People want localism versus globalism today. So sustainability plugs right into this, because if you become, let's say, a sustainable salon, or you start supporting sustainable initiatives, you're starting to attract that consumer. And that consumer is the most valuable consumer today. You talk to any multinational, and they're trying to figure out how to attract that consumer. So when a salon signs up to us, it automatically plugs them in to those consumers. And just to give you an idea of how valuable that is on a business level to a salon now, in the last 6 months, we've now become the #1 directory service for consumers looking for a salon to get their hair done. We had 2 weeks ago 14,000 people go through our website. We average around 3,000 to 3,500 consumers through our directory now each month looking for salons to get their hair done. And it's not because they're saying, it's because they're Googling, and this completely happened organic to us. It's because they're Googling things like, I'm looking for a sustainable salon, I'm looking for a natural salon, an organic salon, or even a salon with purpose. That this salon is more than just my hair. It's actually, does it sit with my values? And I can't say enough to people that today is now becoming more valuable than brands. So in the old days, when you looked at a brand and said, I had to have that brand, well, it's also got to be attached to values, because consumers are like, well, my values are actually more important today than the brand, and I can't say no to this unless you can plug into my value set. So it's a very important thing today, sustainability. And like I said, that really surpasses sometimes the environment. It includes it, but it's actually a lot more. And I tell companies today, start focusing on localism, because people really are caring about this more and more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can definitely see that. And I think COVID's probably even enhanced that as well, like the number of people that are supporting local, they're just buying, locally, and local restaurants and cafes and things like that. It's kind of enhanced that trend even more.
Can I secretly say as well, out of line here a little bit, but I'm kind of secretly loving COVID for that reason.
Yeah, same.
I just love going now I love seeing my local cafes so busy, and people really cherishing what's around them. And it's like we stopped to look at that for some reason, because life was moving so fast. And now people really do care about wanting things to come from, I'm in New South Wales. Holidays are now being focused on, like the government focusing on, holiday in our state. I'm like, that's the most beautiful thing I think I've ever seen our government do, is really just giving it back to the people around us, because I think we've forgotten that over the past 10 years.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think I've said it probably a million times, but there were so many negatives that came with COVID, but also so many positives. And this is just kind of one example, which is super cool. So if there is some...
Sorry, you guys still have the best wine though. I am struggling with our Hunter. I still buy my Otago wines. Forget about it. They're the best.
There's nothing better than a Central Otago Pinot Noir. Yeah. So kind of what are your top ways that you would suggest, for a salon spiral clinic wanting to kind of get started with their sustainability journey? What are kind of your top things that you think that they should really focus on?
Yeah, that's again another really good question. So it depends on what stage they're at. So so whether we're talking hair, beauty, dermal clinic, or dog groomer, if you're a salon that's let's say you've never focused on anything to do with sustainability, it's all been about what I call the 90s model, just the brand and your salon, the shop front, it's really time to start understanding your customer. So sometimes even doing a little survey with your clients. So every time, and the survey could be is starting to ask questions about, do these things matter to you? Me stocking a brand that's locally made. Do you care about the environment? And these don't have to be specific brands that you have to put in there. It's not about that. It's actually trying to understand, do these things matter to your clients? Because essentially your business is important. So really, truly understanding that. And what I think, what I found is a lot of bosses quickly realize, wow, 85% of my clients really do care about the environment. A lot of them care about local stuff and this. And I always say to them, that's where you can begin now in starting to think about what matters, what type of, how do you want to decorate your salon? How do you want to present your salon to now on your website? Because that's truly who you should be attracting, and not just assuming you know your clients and actually starting to put those surveys out. Honestly, what I tell people when it comes to now, let's say you've made that decision, you're like, I want to start now actively choosing more sustainable minded things. This is actually where the problem began for us, because when we first started, we didn't want to set up depots. I didn't want to own depots. Like I tell people, I'm a hairdresser. Like I don't know anything about a depot. I was trying to educate people what they could do. The problem it was too hard. People couldn't, to focus on your business and then to focus on, I have to take my foil down to the local scrapyard and he gives me $2 for my foil. What's the point? It cost me $5 in petrol. I'm not going to take my chemicals because I'm too small. And we realized it was hard. So we had to create this one-stop shop that could just plug you in, kind of like how software do it. You create plugins that just go in and solve that problem rather than trying to invent it yourself, because it means too much hard work. So basically, I totally get that from salons. We are on a mission to solving as many of the problems as we can find that really truly matter to you. Because I said we build sustainable salons not just for us, but it's because truly that's what salons want. People are joining us because they're like, oh my God, I just love that you guys are doing it because that's what I want. And that's so important. So we're really listening to our clients and trying to add services and things that truly matter to them. Because to be honest, it's different in every state. Different states and different countries have different problems, and we have to solve them as they are there. And I think being nimble is very important. So as a salon is stay nimble. And what do I mean by that? Is it means that you can pivot at any moment to change based on your customer. And truly understanding your customer is the first point of call.
Cool. I absolutely love that. I love that you're saying like just really focus on what your clients want. I think that gives quite an easy way to kind of prioritize, I guess, as well, like kind of, what should you do? Because there's endless opportunities and things that you can do, right? So I really like that way of trying to like focus in on your clients, as our businesses do kind of, every single day. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And what is your advice around a business that is wanting to make sure that their sustainability journey is a success? So, kind of all their hard work isn't going to be put to waste. How can they make sure that it, is going to work for them and be ongoing and successful?
Well, key to that again is how to make it successful is in those three parts. Because for me, and I put it into the 3 Ps: people, planet, and profit. Because if we let's say focus on that profit one, if let's say you plug in sustainability and now you're generating more revenue in your business, you're not going to stop, are you? You're going to be like, why the hell was I not doing this in the past? Like I had to be an idiot. It makes sense. I'm helping the community and my clients aren't complaining. Like, what the hell? You know what we find at Sustainable Salons is that most people, when they do start the journey, and most people think who join Sustainable Salons are green people. I said, actually not. It's a whole mix. We get a lot of rational entrepreneurs, people who are highly focused on business first, but they care about the environment, but they care about making sure they make more money, and that's their number one priority. And what we say to them is we totally get that, and we want to show you that it can be profitable, and then if I can prove that point, then the rest is going to be actually quite easy for them. Others want to start in a different area where they're like, no, look, the environment means more to me first. I want to make sure I'm a natural salon, sustainable. We're making sure that we tick all those boxes. So it really depends on the person themselves, on which journey they take. But to be honest, I think for most people, it's and this is how my partner and I look at it. It's like, what do we want to wake up to tomorrow? Look, we don't have kids and things like that, but I can imagine that's the same for a parent. It's like, I want to wake up just knowing my child's happy. It doesn't mean my child has to have every toy in the world. I just want to know they're happy. And what does happiness mean? Well, it's a combination of things. And honestly, in the end, that's what drives us. It's just like making sure that we are happy to do this every day, that it's something that gives us joy. It's like the Maria Kondo, does this spark joy in my life? And I say to people, it should spark joy. And if it doesn't, then maybe it's not for you at this moment. And I highly suggest maybe then taking a moment to see when it is the right time. Because for a lot of people, it is hard. I get it. If you came from the old school and you're like, it was all about cash and storing that cash, and you didn't have to pay your GST because we're in the hairdressing business and all this. I'm like, I think I get it. You're from the old school. It's like trying to convince my father what we do. Forget about it. It's too hard.
Yeah.
These jobs didn't exist 20 years ago.
Yeah. Do you ever find that there are owners that need to really get their staff on board, or has that kind of never been an issue? Because I tend to say that, if you want something to work, you need to make sure you've got your team backing you 100%.
You're going to laugh. It's the complete opposite. We get staff so passionate, they get angry at their bosses for not joining. And we laughed in the early days, but it's now become so serious that we've even had to calm down. We don't want the boss, of course. We don't want them to feel pressured, but we've had staff now putting petitions together, literally writing up and writing messages to their boss about just how much this matters to them, and that they really wish that they would take it serious. We've had bosses just not knowing how to deal with that, and they've contacted us kind of in this love-hate, like, how dare you force this in? I'm like, I haven't even said anything, like, we've just got people that really care about this. And I say to them, maybe it's an important thing to understand what your staff want, because remember, if you want to retain staff, you've got to attract them, right? So what's happening really funny, because we work a lot in the school sector, so where you train and so forth, we help write that unit, the sustainability unit, and young kids are learning about this now so much. So they're actively looking and contacting us at head office to make sure their bosses are real sustainable salons. I just want to confirm that my boss is actually on the program, and we are like, yes, we can let you know that you are definitely on the program, or you're not, because we get a lot of people also kind of faking it, and they're like, yeah, we do all that, we recycle. They just say, all these things, right? And then we have to say, yeah, actually your boss is it. And we don't want to move staff or anything like that, but we have heard of many cases where bosses have called us to say, I get people walking in here looking for a job, but first they want to know about sustainable salons,
Wow. Yeah.
And that's the conscious consumer again. These are the 25s to 35-year-olds now that really do matter. They don't want to work for a bot. They love the salon, but if he doesn't have the same values, what are you going to do? You just don't feel right.
That's super, super interesting. And I guess kind of what you were saying before, clients are actively looking for sustainable salons, but also I know recruitment in our industry is really, really hard as well. And so, you've got to take that into account, that if you're looking to hire great people, potentially one of the things I really keep looking for is sustainability as well. So yeah, that's so interesting. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for your time today. That has been such a ride. I really, really enjoyed kind of your journey and everything that you guys do. And I hope that everyone watching has enjoyed this as much as I did. So thank you so much, Paul, for all your time today. And thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you on our next Facebook Live.
Before I go, I just want to a big thank you to Katoomba, because I can't thank you guys enough also for just welcoming me on, and also help partnering with us with how to implement our $2 sustainable salon fee and how it runs through the software. We thank you a lot. We do understand it's not easy and it takes time, and really appreciate it. So a big shout out to all the team at Katoomba. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Paul. That means a lot. We really, really love working with you guys as well. So thank you so much. Cool. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.